Hey, good morning, everyone. You're seeing this on a Sunday morning, and I want to share three things with you today. Some announcements, some thoughts from God's Word, and then we'll talk about last week's challenge that we had, and then the upcoming week's challenge in which you can win some prizes. So be sure to hang out for the end of the video. First thing are some announcements. Thank you all for following along with our 30-day challenge and devotion. Keep up the good work. Second announcement is a big one, okay? We're about to switch over to something called Group Me, which is going to allow us to just send one blanket message out for announcements. That's going to really help us a lot, and I think help you all out a lot to make sure that no one's missing anything along the way. Third announcement is something else we're going to try called Zoom. That's going to allow us to all get on video together and just hang out. Get on video together and do Sunday school or whatever it is, however we want to use that. We're going to use Zoom to try to do some things like that. So more to follow on all of that throughout the week. You'll see some announcements coming across. Want to share a few thoughts from God's Word. This is going to be part one of kind of a mini message, and then part two will come on Wednesday. So part one, and I'll start off with a story. My family and I have been going to Silver Dollar City for a few years. It's one of the fun things we do. And we had never done the actual tour of the cave until a couple of years ago when we finally decided to do it. So we get in there, it's super steep, has an interesting temperature to it, humidity in there, and all of that. So we start going in there and it's really narrow, you can't see very well, and fortunately they have a path carved out which helps you see. But even better than that, they have a cave tour guide who guides you along the way. And it was super helpful to have that. Without the cave tour guide, it wouldn't have been as good of an experience, and we may not have known where to go. So I'm sure all of you have had times like that where you're not sure what's next. It might be right now with everything crazy going on in the world. It might be more broad for you where you're wondering, what do I do next? Do I go to college? Do I go to trade school? Do I enter the workforce after high school? What's next for me, right? So we all have those questions, wondering, what do I do next? I need direction. And Moses found himself in a similar spot. We're going to look at this together in Exodus chapter 33 and verse 12. Exodus 33 and 12 is where I will be reading from. And really to paint the scene here, Moses and all the Israelites had been in the wilderness for quite some time, but they were at a pivotal point where they really needed to know what was next, where to go next, when to go next, all of that. And that's where we find ourselves in Exodus 33. And it says this: Moses said to the Lord, "You have been telling me, lead these people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. You have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor with me. If you are pleased with me, teach me your ways so that I may know you and continue to find favor with you. Remember that this nation is your people." The Lord replied, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." Then Moses said to him, "If your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here." So again, at this point, Moses had been leading the people for quite a while at this pivotal point, and we find that they are needing direction. Again, I'm sure have felt that way at times where you need direction from the Lord and need to know what's next. And here is the good news that God shared with Moses. It says this in verse 14, "My presence will go with you." That is God saying himself. He will be with Moses. He will be with you, right? No matter what questions you have, no matter what direction you need, what we are hearing here is that God himself will be with you. What an amazing promise. This is a lot better than just getting something falling from heaven that says, here's the major you need to take, here are the classes to take, here's going to be your career. Sometimes that's what we want, but what God is saying here is better. This is better than even having a cave tour guide, right? This is having the ultimate guide, God himself, coming alongside you and accompanying you wherever you go, whatever you do. Him saying that you're not doing it alone. He is going to be with you. That's just an incredible, incredible promise for all of us. And Moses, of all people, he would have really understood how valuable this was. This is what verse 11 says about the relationship that Moses and God had with one another. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. That is crazy when you really think about it, right? But that's the relationship that God and Moses had. So when Moses heard these words from God in verse 14, my presence will go with you, he understood how important that was. He got it, right? So this is what Moses says back to God. God says, my presence will be with you. This is what Moses says. If your presence does not go with us, then do not even send us up from here. That is Moses. He's drawing a line in the sand, and he is saying, God, if I'm supposed to get up and go from here, wherever you have for me, there's no way I can do it unless you're with me. Your presence is a must in my life. And so when I look at Moses' attitude, it challenges me, and I want it to challenge you to look at yourself and say, how much do I value the presence of God in my life? The fact that God is with me. How important is it? If I had a ranking of things important, where does it rank? For Moses, top of the list. God, I won't even go the next step unless you're with me. And for you, I want it to be the same way. God, I don't know what's next. This whole coronavirus, everything going on, being quarantined, what's next? I don't know what's next in my life, but I know this. God, you have to be with me. Your presence has to be with me, or I don't even want to take the next step. So I want this word to challenge you today to search your own heart and to use this opportunity. We talked about last week using this as an opportunity to hit the reset button. Also use this as an opportunity to make up your mind to say, I want to be a person who is bound and determined to have the presence of God in my life. And if you will do that, God is going to bless you over and over again in ways that you didn't even expect. That is the challenge, to have that mindset. Your presence has to be with me. So that's the word for today. And then part 2 of that will come on Wednesday. We'll talk about how this turned out for Moses, how it turned out for all of God's people, Israel here. More to follow on that. And I want to talk about next week's challenge. So we had an awesome challenge. We had quite a few submissions sending us their pics of them quarantined in their house. It was really funny, really creative. The one for this week is send us pictures of where you would be going on an ideal vacation if you weren't quarantined and you had time on spring break and the ability to just go somewhere. Like, mock that up in your house or outside close to you, whatever it might be, and show us what that would look like and send it our way. We'll be taking those pictures now through the end of Friday, and then we'll be voting on those. The adult leaders will on Saturday, and then sending out prizes for whoever wins. All right, that wraps it up for this Sunday. We love you guys. Can't wait to eventually see you again one day, but cool we can share these moments online. Stay safe, stay close to Jesus, and we'll catch you later. Bye.